The last thing we're going to do is we're going to create a graph to show the total of how much income this person's made and how much they've got, how much they've spent. Okay. So to do that, we firstly need to highlight the data which we want Excel to graph for us. Okay. So we're going to select cells B6 to D7. Okay. So we're going to start with quite a simple one. Okay. Now the tricky bit comes with selecting the most appropriate type of graph. Okay. Now remember that things like line graphs are better for things which are chronologically or run over time. In this case, let's go for a nice simple bar graph. Okay. If you do hover over them, if you're not sure and you're trying to interpret what it would look like, you can always look here. Okay. Let's make it fancy. Let's go for a 3D bar graph. Okay. And this quite nicely shows here, if we look at our labels, both the total income, which is labelled 1, and the total expenditure, which is labelled 2. The last part of your task here is to maybe make this a bit more appropriate, okay, or a bit more easy to read, okay. You can do things like maybe changing the title, because everything should have a title. You can perhaps change the colours, you can maybe label the axes as well, okay. Other things you might want to do, let's just hide that for a second. Let's say, for example, he spent some more money on Wednesday. Okay, now I'm going to leave my graph there so we can see what happens. Let's just minimise it a little bit. Okay, to add a row in between something else. Okay, we could use this one, but let's keep that gap there. You always right-click on the row after. Okay, now to explain what I mean, let's show you. If I right-click on row 5. Press insert, it's going to insert a row above that. Okay, same as well if I right click on B, press insert, it'll insert a column before. Okay, so let's add Thursday. Let's say corner shop, and let's say he spent £4. Okay, I'm only going to type in 4, but when I press enter, again, look what happens to my data. Okay. Now you'll notice this is still correct, but this isn't. Okay, and actually our cell references are wrong. We need to change this to include all cells. And same with this one. Now watch what happens to my graph when we press enter. It updates live for us. Okay. So that's your last task to do. Experiment to see what other data you can add into your income and outgoing columns, and try to generate a graph as well.